On his wedding day, a man did the unthinkable. He drugged his own virgin bride, the woman he had just vowed to cherish, and sent her to the hotel suite of a powerful CEO, all in exchange for a promotion. A filthy transaction disguised in white lace and wedding vows. But what Marcus didn't anticipate was that the very woman he tried to use as a pawn would end up silencing an entire elite ballroom and exposing his entire scheme on the big screen. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's a story of a woman who rose from devastation and a man who gave up everything to stand for the truth. Don't look away. This story will leave you breathless. Marcus, a corny and power-hungry man, drugged his virgin bride-to-be, Brianna, on their wedding day and sent her to a CEO's hotel suite to set him up and secure a position at Raymond Enterprises. What is Brianna's fate? What happens in this captivating story of betrayal, love, and second chances? Let's find out. If you are just tuning in for the first time, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. It means the world to us. It all started on the day of Marcus Hill's wedding in a small apartment on the Lower East Side of New York City. Marcus stood in the hallway, pacing slowly with his phone pressed to his ear. He wasn't calling a florist or confirming a honeymoon. He was arranging a trade, a secret deal that would change everything. Yes, he said into the phone. A suite at Lexington Hotel, room 2406. Everything must be perfect. The wine, the music, and make sure the cameras stay on. On the other end of the line, a hotel staff member replied. And the woman? Marcus glanced toward the closed bedroom door where his new bride, Brianna, was getting ready. She'll be there. Just make sure Jason Raymond is too, and make sure you slip the pills into his wine like I asked. He needs to lose control. He hung up, his expression cold. This wasn't love, it was ambition. Marcus didn't care about romance or vows. He cared about power. Jason Raymond, the CEO of Raymond Enterprises, had everything Marcus wanted. Influence, wealth, a seat at the top. Marcus had found a way to buy his way in by setting up a scandal that would trap Jason and ruin his name. Marcus slid his phone into his pocket and turned toward the kitchen, where he stirred a white powder into a glass of orange juice with practiced ease, watching it dissolve completely, his expression cold and determined. Brianna walked in, still in her silk robe, her curls freshly pinned. "Morning, baby," she said, smiling. "Hey, beautiful." Marcus smiled back, holding out the glass. "You need this. You haven't eaten, and I know how nervous you get on big days." She took it without hesitation. "Thanks." He kissed her forehead gently and watched as she drank every drop. "By the way," he said casually, "Jason Raymond is in town. He's hosting a banquet at the same hotel as the wedding. He asked to meet you." "Jason Raymond?" she asked, startled. "The CEO?" "Yeah," he said. "He's starting a charity initiative and wants a fresh face to help represent the brand. I told him you'd be perfect." "But why me?" Marcus leaned in, his voice calm and persuasive. "Baby, this could open real doors for us. He respects women like you. You go there, make a good impression, and maybe we finally get a seat at the big table. Trust me, this is important for our future." Feeling a bit lightheaded, Brianna nodded slowly. "Okay, if you say so." That evening, the Lexington Hotel buzzed with luxury as Jason Raymond's banquet was in full swing on the third floor. Top investors, politicians, and celebrities filled the grand ballroom. Chandeliers sparkled, and waiters served champagne. Preparations for Marcus and Brianna's rooftop wedding were underway at the same hotel, but Marcus had other plans. Brianna arrived at the hotel lobby, escorted by a driver. She felt dizzy, her steps unsteady. The staff, following Marcus' instructions, guided her to room 2406. When Jason opened the door, he looked surprised to see her. "Brianna?" Marcus's wife. She nodded slowly, gripping the wall. "You wanted to meet me about your charity." Jason's brow furrowed. "I never." He paused, noticing how pale she looked. "Are you okay?" "I feel dizzy." Jason stepped forward and caught her before she collapsed, helping her onto the couch and giving her some water. Minutes passed, and she lay back, trying to keep her eyes open. Jason's phone buzzed. Cole, his head of security, had sent urgent footage. Marcus had bribed hotel staff, gave them pills to spike Brianna's wine, sent his wife here to set him up hoping they'd both be compromised. He wanted evidence, something to blackmail Jason with. Jason opened the attached videos. The first showed Marcus handing pills to a bartender with clear instructions to make sure they were in Jason Raymond's drink. Another video showed Marcus talking to a hotel staff member, pointing to Brianna's photo. Walk her to room 2406. Say Jason's expecting her. Jason looked at Brianna, dazed and innocent, drugged. He sat beside her, voice gentle. Brianna, Marcus lied to you. He drugged your juice this morning and sent you here to trap me. Her face changed. No, he wouldn't do that. He planned to make it look like something happened between us to ruin both our reputations. Tears pooled in her eyes. This was supposed to be our wedding day. Jason gave her a blanket and helped her lie down. You're safe now, I promise. Later that night, in the grand ballroom, the banquet was still in full swing. Jason entered the room, dressed sharply in his suit, holding Brianna's hand. The chatter stopped. Heads turned, cameras clicked, phones came out. Marcus, who was mingling confidently near the champagne table, froze when he saw them walk in together. Danielle, Marcus's cousin, stepped forward, furious. What is she doing with Jason Raymond? People began whispering, some already recording. Jason stepped up to the microphone. Forgive me for the interruption, but there's something I need to share, something everyone here deserves to know. He tapped his phone and played the video footage on the large projector screen at the front of the ballroom. The room watched in stunned silence as they saw Marcus bribing the bartender, giving the staff pills, and planning it all. Gasps filled the space. Marcus rushed forward. This is fake. You edited that video? Jason faced him calmly. That's the truth, Marcus. You drugged your wife and tried to use her to ruin me on your wedding day. Reporters started filming. Investors whispered in corners. Someone called for security. Jason stepped aside so Brianna could speak. Her voice trembled but was clear. I trusted you, she said to Marcus. I loved you, and you used me. Marcus glared at Jason. You stole her from me. Jason stared back. You threw her away. Brianna stood frozen in the center of the ballroom. The flashing cameras, the murmurs from the crowd, the blinding lights, it all became too much. Her knees buckled, and she dropped to the floor in tears, her heart racing, her mind spinning. How did everything go so wrong? How did it end up like this? Jason stepped forward and knelt beside her. You're safe now, he said gently. I've got you. Across the room, Marcus stormed toward them, his face twisted with rage. You think you can just walk in and take my wife in front of everybody? Jason stood up slowly and faced him. She was never yours. You didn't love her. You sold her. Marcus gritted his teeth. You don't have proof. Jason didn't flinch. Don't I? He pulled out his phone and tapped the screen. The giant projector behind the stage lit up, and a second video played for everyone to see. On the screen, Marcus's voice rang out clearly. Make sure Jason's wine has the pills I gave you. He won't resist once it kicks in. Gasps echoed around the room. Jason turned to the crowd. This man planned the entire thing. He drugged his wife and sent her to my room. Marcus took a step back, his face now pale. That's not what it looks like. That's not proof. Jason's voice was calm but firm. Then explain why Brianna was drugged, why she was sent to my room, why you watched everything from a distance. Brianna tried to stand. Her legs were weak, but she pushed through. Across the ballroom, Danielle's voice cut through the air. This is ridiculous. Why is everybody acting like Marcus is the villain? Brianna probably threw herself at Jason. Jason turned toward her. You want to know what really happened? He tapped his phone again, and yet another video played. This time it showed Marcus handing a hotel key to a staff member. The staffer nodded and pointed toward room 2406, Jason's suite. More gasps followed. Jason looked around the room. This wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a setup. One of the PR executives stepped forward, whispering urgently, Jason, we need to shut this down. This could destroy everything we've built. Jason shook his head. Raymond Enterprises doesn't run on lies. If something is wrong, we face it. Danielle scoffed and turned her attention to Brianna. You're just some desperate girl from the Bronx. You tricked Marcus into marrying you, and now you're using Jason as your next step up. Brianna lifted her head and stood tall, her voice trembling but steady. I didn't trick anyone. I was going to marry Marcus because I trusted him. I thought he loved me. I was wrong. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to her. Jason moved closer, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. She didn't come to my room by choice. She was set up. Right then, hotel security entered with a staff member in uniform. Sir, the staffer said nervously. Marcus paid me to prepare the suite. He said it was for a surprise. I didn't know what he was really planning. More murmurs followed. Several guests pulled out their phones. Some were already recording. Marcus looked around, panicked. You all think he's better than me just because his last name is Raymond. Jason replied calmly, but I would never sacrifice a woman's dignity for a promotion. Then Brianna turned to Marcus, her voice low but clear. Marcus, was it really you? Were you the one who gave me that drink? Marcus stared at her. His rage faded. For the first time, he looked tired, hollow. You were my only way forward, he said quietly. I had to make a move. Jason was supposed to be a stepping stone. Brianna covered her mouth. Her eyes filled with fresh tears. Jason looked at the crowd. It ends here. He turned to the reporters. Raymond Enterprises stands for integrity, and starting tonight, we're done protecting people who destroy others for personal gain. Just then, security stepped closer. One of them leaned into Jason's ear and whispered. Jason nodded. Bring them in. 2 NYPD officers entered the ballroom. The crowd stepped aside. All eyes were on Marcus now. You're arresting me? Marcus asked, his voice cracking. One of the officers nodded. You're being arrested for drugging and attempting to traffic your wife. We have video and eyewitness testimony. You can explain the rest downtown. Marcus stared at Brianna, full of resentment. You ruined me. She shook her head slowly. You ruined yourself. The officers placed cuffs on Marcus and began leading him away. The room was silent. Jason turned back to the crowd. Let this be a reminder. No title, no job, no amount of money is worth destroying someone's life. He looked at Brianna, his voice softer. You deserve peace, not pain. At first, the room was quiet. Then someone began to clap slowly. The applause grew loud, supportive, as the crowd stood behind her. Brianna let the tears fall again, but this time they were tears of relief. The banquet was over, but the city hadn't stopped talking. Social media was flooded with photos, hashtags, and videos. Everyone had an opinion, and the spotlight wasn't moving anytime soon. Upstairs in Jason Raymond's private lounge, Brianna sat wrapped in a blanket, still trying to process everything. Her eyes were blank. Her body shook even though the room was warm. Jason walked in with a bottle of water, handing it to her and sitting across from her quietly. For a moment, he asked gently, You okay? I don't know, she whispered. Everything just exploded. Jason nodded, giving her space, but there was something he needed to ask. Brianna, when Marcus sent you to me that night, did you know what was going on? Her grip tightened on the water bottle. She looked down. I thought I was going to meet you to discuss the charity outreach. He told me it would open doors for us. I didn't know he had drugged me. Jason's jaw clenched. He used you, and he used me too. She gave a faint nod. I thought we were building a future, but he was just setting me up to be part of his plan. Jason leaned forward. You didn't do anything wrong. What he did was calculated evil, and I'm sorry he used me to do it. Brianna gave a weak smile. I just want peace. There was a knock at the door. Jason opened it to find his assistant, Terrence, standing there. We've sent everything to the district attorney, Terrence said. The security footage from earlier tonight, everything Marcus did to set you both up. It's all on record now. Jason gave a nod. Thanks. Terrence left without another word. Jason turned back to Brianna. They have everything they need. Now he won't be able to manipulate you or anyone else again. Brianna froze. So it's really over? It's over, Jason said. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. Thank you. Jason looked at her. You don't owe me anything, but if you ever need help, you don't have to go through anything alone again. Brianna gave a small, quiet nod, then she stood to leave. As she reached the door, Jason spoke again. I meant what I said. I'll always have your back. She looked at him for a long second. Thank you for believing me, and then she walked out. Across the city, in a low-lit downtown bar, Danielle stirred her martini with a bitter look on her face. Her phone buzzed over and over, but she ignored every call and message. She didn't want to talk, not to the press, not to anyone. A man in a gray suit sat beside her, looking like someone who stayed out of photos and behind the scenes. You really let that party get away from you, he said. Danielle rolled her eyes. Spare me. This wasn't my fault. Really? The man asked. Your cousin's scandal is all over the news, and your name's all over the videos. She downed her drink. It's that girl Brianna. She's the problem. She doesn't belong in Jason's world. The man gave a small laugh. You still don't get it. Brianna didn't ruin anything. She was just the truth that exposed all the lies. Danielle slammed her glass down and walked out. You don't have to wait for judgment, the man said to himself. It's already come. Back in the Raymond family estate, Jason stood in the massive study with his grandfather, Charles Raymond. The air was heavy. Charles sat behind the desk with a scowl. You embarrassed this family tonight. Jason stayed calm. I exposed the truth. You brought scandal to the Raymond name. That girl Brianna was drugged and sent to your room on what should have been her wedding night. Her father has mental health issues. She's not one of us. Jason stepped forward. I don't care about any of that. What happened to her was wrong, and I won't turn my back on that. Charles slammed a hand on the desk. You're supposed to run this company with dignity. Jason stared at him. Then take the company. I don't want it if it means abandoning my principles. Charles's face went red. You'd give up your entire legacy for her? I'd give up anything to protect her peace. Charles pointed to the door. Get out of my sight and don't come back until you're ready to act like a Raymond. Jason turned and walked away without another word. In Harlem, Brianna stepped into her small apartment and found her father on the couch. Mr. Jacobs looked up and smiled faintly. He didn't always recognize things anymore, but tonight he knew his daughter. Hey, sunshine, he said. She dropped her purse and hugged him tightly. Hey, Daddy. You okay? He asked gently, patting her back. She nodded against his shoulder. I think so. Yeah. He leaned back, smiled again, and said, Then I'm okay too. Brianna didn't say anything. She just sat beside him and held his hand. For the first time in years, she felt safe, and that was enough for now. The next morning, Brianna stood by the kitchen sink, staring out the window. The sun was rising over Harlem, casting a soft glow on the streets, but her heart felt heavy. Sleep had barely touched her. The truth was out, yes, but peace still felt far away. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Jason, it read. Good morning. Are you okay? I found something else I think you should see. Can we meet? She stared at the message, then typed back. Where? Jason, room 302, Raymond Residences. Across town, in a Tribeca high-rise, Marcus stormed through his apartment like a caged animal, released on bail but completely ruined. His phone had gone silent. No more calls, no more respect, just headlines, shame, and silence. Then the front door opened. Danielle stepped inside, exhausted. Why are you here? Marcus barked. She dropped her bag on the couch. Because I need to understand how you thought this would end. You really drugged your fiancée and sent her to Jason. It wasn't supposed to fall apart. Marcus growled. I did everything to become president. She was just collateral. Danielle crossed her arms. You used her. You used me. You even tried to use Jason. He stepped forward, eyes dark. Don't act like you're clean. You helped me set that hotel room up. Her jaw tightened. I didn't know you drugged her. That wasn't part of the plan. Marcus laughed bitterly. You knew enough. You just didn't care. Danielle's voice cracked. She trusted you. She was your fiancée, And she still is. Marcus said. We're not over yet. She's still mine. She backed away. You're sick. He stared at her coldly. She's still mine, and once I take Jason down, she'll have nowhere else to go. Danielle grabbed her bag and stormed to the door. You're going to jail. Marcus smirked. We'll see. I'm not going alone. Brianna stood outside room 302, her hand trembling as she knocked. Jason opened the door. Come in, he said softly. The suite was calm. On the table sat a laptop and a sealed manila envelope. Jason motioned to the seat. There's something you should see. She sat slowly. He opened the folder and pulled out a printed document. My team found more on Marcus. Emails, bank records, even recent plans showing he was trying to set you up again. He booked another hotel room under your name, forged your identity, and sent lingerie to the room to make it appear like you were involved in something scandalous. Brianna felt her stomach twist. Why would he do that? To ruin you, Jason said. To destroy your reputation. He wanted to make sure that even if you spoke out, nobody would believe you. She stared at the floor. He said he loved me. That wasn't love. That was control. She looked up. And what do you want from me? Jason stepped closer. Nothing. I don't want anything from you. I want to protect you. That's it. Her breath caught in her throat. But I need to be honest with you, he added. My grandfather doesn't want us speaking. He doesn't think you're good enough for me. She turned away. Maybe he's right. Jason frowned. He's wrong. You didn't choose any of this. You were thrown into it. You didn't break anything. You survived. She shook her head. My life is complicated. My dad, his illness, my past. What kind of future could I even give you? You already gave me something no one else has, Jason said. You gave me peace. She looked at him, eyes glossy. You could be with anyone, but I want you. Silence filled the room. Brianna stood. I need space. I'm not ready. Jason nodded. I understand. She stepped to the door. Thank you for everything. And she left. That night, Jason sat alone in his penthouse, lights off and mind racing. He had spoken up. He had protected her. He had walked away from everything for her, but she was still gone. Then the door burst open. Charles Raymond stormed in, eyes blazing. You think you can disgrace this family and just walk away? Jason stood. I told the truth. You humiliated us. You threw away your position for some broken girl. I did it for peace, for dignity, for love. She doesn't belong in our world. Charles shouted. Jason stared back. Then I don't want your world. Charles turned red. You're weak. No, Jason said. I'm free. Charles turned and stormed out. Jason walked to the window. The city lights stretched far into the horizon. Somewhere out there, Brianna was healing, and he wasn't going to let anything touch her peace again. 2 days later, Brianna stood outside a modest cafe in Brooklyn, sipping tea and watching the rain tap softly on the glass. Her father sat across from her, gently humming to himself, unaware of the world around them. It had been a quiet morning until her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. Brianna? Marcus's voice was calm and cold. I need to see you. Her breath caught. Why? There's something you should know about Jason. She almost hung up, but something in his tone stopped her. Fine, where? Linden Motel, room 214, tonight. She ended the call and dropped the phone on the table. Her dad looked at her and smiled. You okay, sunshine? She forced a smile. Yeah, Daddy, I'm okay. But she wasn't. Later that evening, Brianna stood outside room 214, her heart beating faster with every step. She knocked once. The door creaked open. Marcus stood inside, half-dressed, pacing. He looked thinner, stressed, and angry. Come in, he said. She stepped inside cautiously. What do you want? I want to talk alone. I don't have anything to say to you. He pointed to the chair. Sit, just for a minute. Brianna remained standing. Say what you have to say. Marcus looked at her, eyes tired. You think I'm the only bad guy in this story? You really believe Jason is some kind of saint? She frowned. Jason never lied to me. He never hurt me. Marcus stepped closer. You don't know everything. Jason isn't innocent. He used this whole scandal to look like a hero, but he was part of the same world I was trying to survive in. He's not clean, Brianna. None of us are. You're just trying to shift the blame, she said. You drugged me and sent me to his room. Yes, I did. Marcus snapped. Because I was desperate. Do you know what it's like to be overlooked, stepped on while someone like Jason has everything handed to him? I did what I had to do. You used me, she whispered. And you're still trying to justify it. I loved you, he said. I wanted a future for us, but Jason took that from me. Brianna's voice shook. Jason didn't take anything. You gave me away. Suddenly, the door flew open. Jason stepped in, soaked from the rain, his eyes burning. Let her go, he said. Marcus laughed. Wow, what a hero. Jason didn't flinch. You touch her again, and you'll be behind bars for life. Marcus stepped between them. She's still mine. We're not over yet. Jason pulled out a document from his coat and handed it to Brianna. You're free. She looked down and saw her name on a formal statement legally distancing her from Marcus's manipulation. Her hands trembled. You did this, she whispered. Jason nodded. It's done. Marcus screamed. You can't do this. She's mine. Jason didn't hesitate. She was never yours. You used her. You hurt her. But it ends tonight. Marcus lunged, but Jason stepped forward and punched him hard in the jaw. Marcus crashed to the floor, groaning. Jason looked at Brianna. Let's go. She didn't move at first. She just stared at Marcus, now writhing in pain. You said you loved me, she said. Marcus looked up, bleeding from his lip. I did, in my own way. Brianna shook her head. Then your love is poison. She turned and walked out, with Jason behind her. Outside, the rain was heavy, but the streets glowed under the city lights. Jason opened the car door for her. As she stepped in, she whispered, Thank you. Jason looked at her. You never have to thank me for protecting you. She turned to him, suddenly overwhelmed with emotion. Why do you care so much? He smiled. Because you're the first person who ever made me want to be better. She leaned against the seat and closed her eyes. I just want a normal life, no threats, no secrets. Jason nodded. Then let's go build one. As they drove off into the night, a quiet peace settled between them, fragile but real. For the first time in years, Brianna felt like maybe, just maybe, the nightmare was over. Jason hadn't said much during the drive. He kept glancing at Brianna, making sure she was okay. She looked out the window in silence, her fingers gently tracing raindrops on the glass. They pulled up outside her apartment building in Harlem. I'll walk you in, he said. She nodded. Inside, her father was asleep on the couch, covered in a blanket. The soft sound of the television filled the room. Jason helped her hang up her coat and sat quietly on the edge of a chair. Can I ask you something? Brianna said suddenly. Jason looked up. Of course. Why didn't you hate me back then, the night you found me in your hotel room? After everything Marcus did, why didn't you just walk away and let me suffer? Jason leaned forward. Because I saw the look in your eyes. You were scared, confused, drugged, and you were alone. I couldn't turn away. Brianna blinked back tears. I didn't even remember your face clearly. I just remembered feeling safe for a moment. Jason smiled softly. I felt the urge to help you and expose the fraud of a man Marcus was. You didn't deserve all he did to you. I'm not perfect. I have my flaws. But that night I realized I wanted to be different for the first time in my life. They sat in silence for a while, then Brianna stood. I need to do something for me. What is it? Jason asked. I need to go back to school, finish my degree, dance again. I gave it all up when Marcus took control of my life. Jason stood too. Then I'll help you do it. I don't want you to fix me, she said quickly. I just want to know you'll be there. Jason nodded. I'm not here to fix you, Brianna. I just want to walk beside you while you fix yourself. Her eyes softened. That's all I need. The next morning, chaos broke loose at Raymond Enterprises. Charles Raymond, Jason's grandfather, slammed the morning newspaper on the boardroom table. The headline read, Raymond Heir rescues woman from marriage scandal. Photos from the banquet, Jason's confrontation with Marcus, Brianna's tearful face, everything was out there. The board members looked nervous. Investors were calling. Public opinion was split. "This is a disaster," Charles barked. "Jason has turned our company into a soap opera." "He also saved an innocent woman," one board member said cautiously. Charles pointed at him. "This isn't about saving women. This is about control." Suddenly, the door opened, and Jason walked in, dressed in a navy suit, calm and collected. "I read the article," he said, picking up the paper. "And I'm proud of it." Charles stood, furious. "Jason, you're embarrassing the family." Jason stepped forward. "You're wrong. For the first time in my life, I'm standing up for what matters." Charles scoffed. "That girl, she's not our kind. Her father's mentally ill. She's damaged." Jason's eyes darkened. "Say one more word about her, and I'll walk out of here for good. You'd give up your future for her." "I'd give up everything for peace." The boardroom fell silent. Finally, one of the senior partners spoke up. "Jason's image has actually helped us. The public sees him as honest and caring. It's good for business." Another added, "We've gotten over 200 messages of support this morning. People are tired of fake executives. Jason is real." Charles sat down, lips tight. Jason turned to leave. "If I'm going to lead this company, it's going to be on my terms, starting today." As he walked out, the boardroom stayed silent. He had won. That evening, Jason met Brianna outside the community center where she had once taken dance classes. The building looked older, smaller than she remembered. "I signed up for evening sessions," she said, holding up a small flyer. Jason smiled. "How does it feel?" "Scary but good." They walked down the street slowly. "Can I ask you something now?" she said. "Go ahead." "If we had met 3 years ago under different circumstances, do you think we would have still ended up here?" Jason thought about it. "Maybe, maybe not. But I believe we met when we were supposed to, even if it came through pain." Brianna nodded. "Maybe you're right." They stopped at the street corner. The city buzzed around them. Cars honking, people laughing, trains rumbling above. "I don't know what the future holds," she said. "But I want to live it, not hide from it." Jason took her hand gently. "Then let's take it one day at a time." Brianna smiled. "Starting tomorrow." He shook his head. "Starting right now." As they crossed the street together, hand in hand, the world behind them felt a little quieter, and the road ahead a little brighter. 1 week later, Jason stood in the hospital lobby holding a bag of hot porridge. It was early morning, and the nurses had just finished their shift change. Brianna was already inside, sitting by her father's hospital bed. Mr. Jacobs had fallen the night before while taking a walk by himself. He'd wandered away from their building and tripped on uneven pavement. A stranger had called 911. It could have been worse, but his leg was now in a cast, and he'd need help getting around for a while. Brianna looked up as Jason walked in. "You didn't have to come this early," she said. "I brought his favorite millet porridge from the spot he likes," Jason replied, placing the bag on the table. Her eyes softened. "Thank you." Jason looked at her father, who was still asleep. "How is he doing?" "Better than I expected," she said. "But I think it's time we move to a better facility, somewhere with 24-hour care." Jason nodded. "I can arrange that." Brianna turned to him. "I'll figure it out." Jason paused, then smiled. There was something different in her tone, stronger, clearer. She was taking control again. That afternoon, Jason sat on a bench outside the hospital, watching the street. He was deep in thought when his grandfather's driver pulled up in front of him. The back window rolled down. Charles Raymond sat inside, dressed sharply as always, his face unreadable. "Get in," he said. Jason hesitated, then stood and stepped into the back seat. They drove in silence for several blocks before Charles finally spoke. "I heard you're planning to move Brianna and her father into a private residence near the water." Jason nodded. "Yes, it's safer, quieter. But Brianna has refused all my help. She insists on doing everything on her own." Charles sighed. "She's a strong girl." Jason looked over in surprise. "What did you say?" "I said she's strong," Charles repeated. "I don't like the way you went about things, but I can't deny she's made you into a better man." Jason sat back in the seat. So what now? Are you going to disown me again? Charles shook his head. You're still my grandson. You've earned the title, and you'll lead this company when you're ready. Jason nodded, quiet for a moment. Thank you. Charles looked out the window. Just make sure she's worth it. Jason didn't hesitate. She is. 2 weeks later, in a quiet courtyard in Queens, a small gathering stood beneath white string lights. There were no cameras, no reporters, just a few close friends, a warm breeze, and a simple setup with chairs and music. Brianna stood in a white summer dress, her curls tied back, her eyes glowing. Jason stood beside her in a light gray suit, holding her hands as a minister read the vows. I, Jason, take you, Brianna, to be my partner in peace, to walk beside you through the mess and the quiet, to fight for your joy, to protect your freedom. Brianna's voice trembled as she spoke. And I, Brianna, take you, Jason, to be my truth, to remind me that I'm worthy, to never let fear win again, and to choose you, not because I have to, but because I want to. Tears filled the eyes of everyone watching. You may kiss the bride. As Jason leaned in, their lips met in a kiss that felt like closing a wound. Not a fairy tale ending, but a real one. That evening, Brianna walked barefoot along the water, holding her sandals in one hand. Jason followed behind her, smiling. You're quiet, he said. I'm just happy. Jason caught up to her. You've come a long way. So have you. They stood side by side, the breeze soft, and the sky turning pink with sunset. I still have scars, Brianna whispered. Jason nodded. So do I. But they don't define us. No, Jason said. They show we survived. She turned to him, eyes shining. Do you think we'll be okay? Jason didn't look away. I know we will. They leaned into each other, forehead to forehead, heart to heart. And in that moment, surrounded by the calm of the evening, the distant city lights, and the quiet rhythm of water against the shore, they began.